MetalJesus here, and I am back with an update to the discovery of my, let's see if I get this right, the US version of the N64 disk drive.
Yes, it's just a touch of a mouthful.
I know. And I am here with Tony, and he has a YouTube channel called Hard for Games.
Hello.
So tell people why you're here.
Okay, so what you found nobody thought actually existed. Like, we didn't realize it was even a thing.
Right.
So I came here with some software, some hardware. A lot of people in the community got together as well to figure out what made your disk drive tick and to try to dump and figure out what is on your blue disk.
That's right. This has been way more complicated than I ever imagined. And so Tony came from all the way from Detroit, actually, and brought a bunch of knowledge and skill to this. So we're going to share that with you today. So let's take a look. So one of the big challenges for me is that when I first discovered this, I did not know what I had. And so I really needed to reach out to people in the community who maybe knew more about it than me, because I knew nothing. So thankfully, you were out there, and you actually reached out to me.
I did, yeah. I went on your website,
That's right. And a lot of people also in the comments recommended I reach out to you too. And that is because you are a collector and a fan of the Japanese version, right? And so you have a bunch of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have a development version and I have a retail version.
Okay.
So basically what you have here is an American N64 disk drive, but what makes that special is really the big question, right? So the disk drive was released in Japan late in the N64's life cycle.
Right.
And a theorized 10,000 to 20,000 units were released, which is like nothing.
Right.
Nothing at all. Never was released in the US, period. And no retail version, no NTSC version of the disk drive has ever been known to exist until you found yours. Right. So that's what makes it special. It's truly a one-of-a-kind disk drive. No other disk drive exists with the same region as this. What
a shock to me, by the way, because I didn't know what I had. So, you know, when I was looking for information online, I was coming up blank. Like, I literally, it was so tough to find anything. And so, thankfully, you know, people like you knew way more about this sort of thing than I did. And also some other people who helped out. So, so really, we had a couple challenges here. We had, okay, I have the drive itself, but I also have this mysterious blue disc, right, that came with it. And so, each one of these had its own little challenges, because initially, I thought that blue disc, because I didn't know any better, I was like, oh, well, maybe there's a game on there or something that I can pop in the drive, but all it does is click. Like, I was like, what's going on here, right? I mean, is it just defective? I didn't know.
Yeah, so basically, a blue disc is a little bit different than a gray disc. It has mechanical differences. So it cannot be read on a retail drive, period, because of the way that the disc actually spins. It just won't physically allow it. So that's why you're getting that click, click, grind sound. Because your disk drive can only play American disk drive games that don't exist.
Which is so frustrating.
Basically, right? So that's why. So you needed a development system to be able to read it, right? And the nice thing about the development system is that development is its own region. So if you have a development system, you should be able to read it. But here's the catch, is that N64 DD development systems need additional hardware.
Right, that little partner disc, right?
Yes. Yeah. And there's also a cartridge for fonts and sound, so you actually need multiple pieces of hardware to plug in to even be able to boot.
My drive cannot read the blue disc.
It just can't.
Yeah, so it's weird that it came with that, but that's just a separate issue.
That was very bizarre. I still kind of question how that happened, but cool nonetheless. I mean, hey, you got a blue disc out of it. Like, can't complain, right?
So I needed to reach out to you because you have a developer system that can read blue discs.
Yeah, so the weird thing about my development system is that it doesn't require the additional hardware. So I didn't realize that it would require additional hardware when I bought it. So I bought it, booted up. I'm like, okay, cool, right? Then people reached out to me and they're like, hey, your DD is one of a kind. It's the only one known to not need these additional pieces.
So this is a really important point here. So I have a very unique one. I have the US version, but he has also a one-of-a-kind development drive that does not need that partner disk.
Exactly.
That it boots up by itself and is able to show its menu.
Yeah. So lucky us, because we didn't have to go buy a bunch of obscure parts we probably couldn't find anyways to be able to read your disc.
Yes.
Right?
I know. It was like, oh my God, like this is happening.
Oh, goodness.
This is great.
Get that childhood back.
Yeah. And so you sent me your drive, actually, which was a pretty funny story because we were going back and forth, and he's like, I know who you are on the internet, but I still don't want to send you this one-of-a-kind drive through the mail, which I did not blame you. I was like, yeah, but you did, thankfully, and I got it here, and we were able to read the contents of that. But there's a little bit more to that story, but it got complicated after that, so I was like, please come out and sort of help me with this, because, and this is the other part of the story, so my video gets released, a lot of people see it, and another collector in the Seattle area comes forward, and he's like, hey, I happen to have 3 more blue discs.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. When I started this journey, I did not know much about this at all.
Sure.
And how rare are these discs?
You know, I wouldn't be able to put like a number on it, but they are incredibly rare. Like this weekend is the first time I've actually physically touched any blue disc.
Oh, really?
And I own a development drive.
Okay. Huh.
So that's how rare they truly are.
Okay.
So, you know, everybody wants to find that lost game.
Right.
You know, everybody wants that Earthbound 64. Everyone's still waiting for Zelda, right? You know, I am too. Like, I really want to play those games, like, really, really bad. But the fact of the matter is that finding one of those games, it's possible, but it's incredibly unlikely, unfortunately. So there was content on your disc. Right. But there wasn't content when we checked on those other 3. So even 3 out of the 4 rare, each one being incredibly rare, blue discs that we found didn't even have anything on them. I know, and it was so like I was so excited, like when we were, you know, because I mean I'm thinking the chances of something being on those 3 discs was like, okay, there's got to be something, right? But there wasn't. I was like, oh man, it's disappointing, but you know. Yeah, and it's tricky too for anybody out there that owns a blue disc, because the way that they're written and rewritten, there can be remnant data. Yeah. So even if it doesn't boot, there could still be some beta of a game on there, and you may not even know. Which has happened in the past, correct? Yes, it has happened in the past. Yeah. So we scanned these discs thoroughly. Right. And there was just nothing on those 3, which really sucked. Yeah, but that happens though, so that was good for me to sort of see that. And it's like, oh, okay. The other thing too, to be honest, I mean, they're magnetic floppy disks, and so you know, it's no different than a lot of floppy disks I have back behind me here. Is that they are very susceptible to you know, deteriorating over time, or you know, just getting next to a speaker or you know, some sort of magnet. Who knows? Who knows what happened? So let me just ask for the comment section below here, how many of you 80s and 90s kids would like save homework on a floppy drive and then get to school and it just wasn't there? Right? This is the sort of medium that we're working with. Yeah. Right? It's not the most reliable. It's not like it's burned onto a CD or like flashed onto a cartridge. It's a magnetic disc. Yeah. So getting to my disc, everyone wants to know. So here's the thing. I would love to tell you that we found some sort of amazing game on there. I wanted to find some sort of amazing game. Yes. That was my honestly. I was dreaming about it. I was like, I was like, you know, it was crazy. I want your Zelda. Oh my god! It was like. It must be like what a treasure hunter feels like. I was very excited about it. Yeah. And so when I finally put it in your drive, something very unusual came up that I wasn't expecting, and you are seeing it on the screen here. It's this screen that basically has these balls that are kind of, you know, bouncing off of the front of your television, and I was like, what is this, right? Yeah. Then I basically hit the A button, and it takes you to this developer tool. That again, I was like, what is this? And you know, I've worked in software enough to know that, okay, this appears to be some sort of tool that helps you determine if the drive is correct, if maybe if the floppy drives are correct and stuff like that. And I've done some research, and so that's what it seems like it is, right? Yes. Basically, it's to test the disk, test the drive. Right. It's a development tool, is what we found. Yeah. So, not a game. Yeah. I'd love to tell you that it's, but it's still cool nonetheless. I mean, has anyone seen this, or I mean, it's still fairly unusual, right? It's extremely unusual. I've actually never seen this menu online, period, whatsoever. It may exist. Yeah. I've never seen it. So this is the first time I've seen it, first time in person today. So although we didn't find this amazing beta of a game, there's some really good news here. We were able to use a 64 drive and some software co-authored by Luigi Blood, who's a gentleman on Assembler Games, and he's been very helpful. Technically, he's our technical consultant for the disk drive, and basically he co-developed the software to allow us to rip the firmware off of your drive, my drive, and dump the data from your blue disk.
Right.
And the reason why this is important is twofold, really. One is historical preservation. You know, we didn't know that this existed. So if something happens to one of our drives, we kind of still have it.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
It's still out there. But secondly is that he's going to be releasing these.
Yep, absolutely.
So if people want to develop against it, they can. You will have access to the firmware.
Yeah, which is really cool. So again, now that we are going to be releasing the firmware of this, people can develop games for them and run them via emulators for the first time ever. This is going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, never been done before because, like I said, we didn't know that NTSC version even existed.
And that's the reason why you're here, because it's fairly involved process. But can you tell people kind of like how this works? Like, what'd you do?
Sure. So again, Luigi Blood really helped me out with the technical side of it. But basically, you need a 64 drive, which is a development tool. It's for debugging and game development on the N64. He developed some software, and basically what you do is you throw it on an SD card. You need the proper development system to be able to...
thankfully you have.
Yes, to be able to read it. Go through some menus here and either dump the IPL or dump the disk.
And a really funny story here too, by the way, that he got here late last night. We rushed down here in my game room to try it out. I know, right? And it didn't work.
Oh my
God, we're like, oh my God, you traveled all this way, it doesn't work.
And he paid for my plane ticket, okay? So I'm like, I have just wasted this man's money. Like, oh my God. I was like sweating bullets.
You're sleeping outside, buddy.
Yeah, exactly, in the doghouse. But no, we got it to work. Everything worked out just fine. Luigi Blood helped us a little bit.
But I mean, that's how complicated this was, is that, you know, he had written software himself. He's not a Nintendo employee. He'd written the software. And of course, it came across my drive, and it didn't know what to do. It basically just errored out. And so, thankfully, we messaged him, and he got back to us at like 4 in the morning with a brand new version of the software to do it.
Yes, exactly. So thank goodness for that, because I nearly had a heart attack. Oh my God.
It was a little bit disappointing, but you know, it's like, well, this is kind of what it is. We're in uncharted territory. It's not like we can call Nintendo and say, hey, you know, help us with this. No, I mean, this was never designed to be in somebody's game collection or to capture this stuff. And so we're definitely in uncharted territory, but thankfully he did that. So so what did you do? You pulled off a bunch of stuff, right?
Yeah, so we pulled off the IPL of your drive,
which is the firmware.
The firmware. Yeah, sorry, technical speak. The firmware of my drive, which again is unique in the sense that it's kind of has its own code and its own like version, basically,
which is cool.
And dumped your disk, and basically we were able to take a look at it and say, okay, well, are all the sectors written to? Like, what is the other data? Is there anything else on this disk? Is there remnants of a potential game, basically?
Yeah, and there was extra data on there, which again was like, oh, okay. Like you mentioned that sometimes that can happen. Although in my case, it doesn't appear to be anything sort of value. So the real meat of it is that sort of tool. But still, basically, it's now there, it's on the internet, and people can check it out, see how it was made, and potentially use it.
Yeah, and you know, another great thing about this too is that it really opens a door. You know, we were able to get together and figure out how to do all of this. So now we have the technology and the know-how. So a lot of these blue discs, honestly, they're just deteriorating in someone's collection.
That's right. This is a huge call to action. So now is the time, if you've got a blue disc, to contact us.
Yes, please, because we can figure out what is on this blue disk. We can preserve it for you and for the community, right? Because otherwise, again, school analogy, you save your Word document to your floppy disk, you bring it to school, it's gone. You know, these things get demagnetized, like all sorts of stuff happens.
Absolutely. So now is the time to do that. We're ready. We're able to do that. You know, and again, I keep dreaming that we'll find some like cool beta version of a game. It could be out there. It could be in somebody's drawer in their office. You know, who knows? Or in some box they didn't know what it was. It'd be cool.
Yeah, just think about the Sony or the Nintendo PlayStation.
I know.
Yeah, nobody thought that really existed.
I know.
But it did.
I know.
So
yeah, that's really cool. So I have to admit that you already have a bunch of videos on your channel already about the disk drive.
Yeah, well, it's definitely been a passion for me and my team, honestly. We've reviewed every retail game for the DD, every piece of hardware. It came with like, you could get a keyboard and a mouse and a modem and a capture card, like lots of really cool, weird stuff. And so we've covered it all and it really gone into some good detail on it.
Where can they find you on the internet?
My YouTube channel name is Hard for Games, so just type that in, numeral 4,
That's
and
right.
our videos will pop up.
Awesome, dude. Well, thank you so much for coming out here and helping me.
Thank you.
You were a lifesaver. There were so many people like Luigi Blood who also helped us as well. Yeah, so the adventure continues. So again, if you have a blue disc,
let us know.
Let us know.
Let us know.
All right, guys. Thanks very much for watching my channel. Thank you for subscribing, and take care. Some of you may have noticed that my video capture of the N64 was a little bit sharper than you would normally see. And so at the end here, I want to do a big shout out to a local collector. His name is Michael Smith. He let us borrow his modded N64 to do this video. So he adds a mod that does HDMI out on the N64, and it looks amazing. So thanks again to everyone who helped with this.